SEC Insider Hit this morning brought to you by Ace Bolt and Screw, powered by DeWalt Tools. Locations: Atlanta, Tupelo, Gluckstadt, downtown Jackson. Ace Bolt and Screw, powered by DeWalt Tools. Welcome in, welcome in. Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. We're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app, and you can watch the show right now on YouTube. Search Out of Bounds Sports. We welcome in our friend, attorney extraordinaire, NFL insider, Chuck Mullins, NFL Chuck, on the Sierra Nevada Pale Ale guest line. NFL Chuck, good morning, buddy.
Man, good morning. That song just took me back to the mall cruising in '85 when I had hair.
Man,
awesome.
I bet you,
Wow.
you had to be one of the coolest guys in town at that point.
Oh, that's what they all said, but, who knows. Hey, Bo, it was a small town, okay?
Chuck grew up in a place with 62 people, but he was one of the coolest.
We were all related, I think.
All right. There's serious stuff going on the show today. Let's start with this, then we'll get into the NFL. There's a place in Gluckstadt called Angelo's. It's a restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
Have you been?
Gavin, my son, just went a couple of weeks ago, came back with rave reviews, and my next-door neighbor used to work there and always talked about it, so I've got to make a pilgrimage up.
Okay, I do too. I mean, evidently this food is amazing. 2, I like ketchup, but I don't like it on my burgers. Okay, I like it fries. I like to dip it. Do you eat ketchup on your burger?
All right. Okay, listen, don't judge me.
Okay.
Do not judge me. Ketchup, any condiment I can get on my burger, I'm doing it, okay?
Oh, wow.
At the end of the day, it looks like a sloppy Joe. You can barely eat it. The bun is so wet, but that's the way I like it.
Okay.
All right. So, but this is what you're going to kill me on, and probably 85% of the listeners. The next day, if I have a ribeye, listen, Kessler ribeye.
Stop.
Chuck Mullins. Now just listen. Don't judge me. I'll eat it, but I always save half. The next day, I put it in the broiler with some butter, and a little bit of ketchup on the side. It's so damn good. I can't help it. I can't. I know it's heresy, and I probably have not said that outside the house, but.
All right, the interview's over. We appreciate NFL Chuck coming by today.
This was the last time you'll ever hear this voice.
That was great. And, all right, goodness gracious. At least it's leftovers that you do that on.
It is only leftovers.
Okay.
Because you can get that thing seared so well. And it's so good.
All right. Now
I knew you were going to ask me that question. I knew it.
Well, that was the important part. And now we'll talk NFL football.
How can you take his opinion on NFL seriously anymore?
The Saints. How good is Sean Payton? Listen to this. You already know this, NFL Chuck, but they're 9-0 with you know how hard it is to win in this league, week in, week out. Yeah. They're 9-0 with their backup quarterback the last 2 years, NFL Chuck.
And this is what it's all about. If you look at the teams historically in the NFL, it's the culture. It's how you bring players in. You develop your system, and then you find players to play when your stars and your starters get hurt. And that's what they've done in New Orleans. When you don't have to rely upon your quarterback play, because look, I'm not going to sit here and debate Taysom Hill versus Jameis Winston, but Sean Payton knew that he could trust Taysom Hill to run the offense he put in, and he's doing it, and they're winning with their defense. And, then when Drew Brees comes back, they'll win with their offense. It's the culture, and they've created it, and it just shows you that they're set up for life after Drew Brees.
Yeah.
It really does, and when you can win with that type of quarterback play in this quarterback-driven league. The stats are just, from 15 years ago, quarterback stats are just, will blow you out of the water.
No doubt.
And they're doing it without the great Drew Brees. And it's impressive. It really is.
It will be interesting to see, Chuck, if he can Peyton Manning Bronco this by Drew getting hurt, but also getting to rest his arm for several weeks. If, and who knows, but if this actually lines up for them and he's got a little more gas in the tank to get through January.
And that's a great analogy, and I think that even go back with John Elway's last 2 Super Bowl and only 2 Super Bowl wins when he did it with Terrell Davis and company. But I think the Saints are better than both of those teams because of their defense, and they've got just such great offensive pieces. So the Saints have the highest percentage based on these computer analysis of making the Super Bowl of any team in the NFL, 25%.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's I know Aaron Rodgers is going to have something to say about that at the end of the day, because that's going to be your NFC Championship game, and it should be a great one.
I hope so. I'd take that right now, man.
Absolutely, but I think you're going to see the Saints in the Super Bowl.
NFL Chuck on the Out of Bounds show. So when you're talking Sean Payton, Chuck, I can make a strong argument that outside of Bill Belichick, he's the best football coach on the planet.
I don't think you're going to get any argument from me, and I think the only person that would come close, I mean, maybe Andy Reid at this point. And I know I was kind of down on Andy, and I think that the talent they have, I don't know that he could do what Sean Payton's doing. And Bill Belichick has done it without Brady. And he's doing it right now. I wouldn't want to play – if the Patriots get in the playoffs, I wouldn't want to play them, by the way. But, yeah, I think that Payton has made his staked his claim, and it's going to be interesting. What is his contract in New Orleans? Does anybody know?
Blake, you said he's making $9 million a year, and they re-signed him right around a year ago to a pretty long deal.
Okay.
Chuck.
Yeah, well, I think I was just going to say whether he was going to be a
5-year, $45 million contract extension in 2019.
Wow.
Well, I mean, I think that I was going to say something, but I'm not going to say it now because he's going to be in New Orleans for whenever he wants to leave or retire. But, you think about it, he's 2 plays away from 2 more Super Bowls.
Right.
So I just think that, like you said, he is if he can win these games with Taysom Hill, when he gets Breeze in, I really think they're going to make a serious run and just dominate all the way through the playoffs.
Yeah, with that defense. NFL Chuck on the Out of Bounds show, the Sierra Nevada Pale Ale guest line. All right, Chuck, I want to discuss the Packers. You mentioned Rodgers. It's almost like we don't appreciate him enough. And they have missed, in my opinion, opportunity after opportunity to just add 1, maybe 2 more weapons around him. It's like he has to sell Dr. Pepper and nachos in the stands and lead them. He is so good. I just don't even know if we can really wrap our brain around how talented he is, Chuck.
And I think everyone was expecting them to do something in the draft with a wide receiver, and instead they pulled the trigger on a quarterback. And then, you were waiting for them to make a trade or get some free agency pickup, and they didn't. So everybody, of course, was thinking they were going to be down this year, and then you turn around. And if you watch Aaron Rodgers play, he plays with such a, I don't want to say confidence, but it's just so calm. And the way he can just pass on the run and just with a flick of the wrist, he literally throws these receivers open.
Yes.
He is one of the few quarterbacks that actually elevates the wide receiver play around him. I think Roethlisberger does it and has done it for years. Mm-hmm. And I really think that Aaron Rodgers does it. Does that mean they don't need other weapons? Of course not, but he seems to be able to function just fine and has and is doing it at the level that, he's getting 285 yards a game passing. I mean, it's just ridiculous. 36 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. I mean, those are Madden statistics, that underappreciated. I don't like saying that often, but I don't think he's a quote media darling.
No,
I just think he's very put-offish, standoffish, even though he does great State Farm commercials. But I just think he's not very media friendly.
Okay, when you look at before we get to your Browns in the AFC, when you look at the NFC, you just said Saints, Packers, and the NFC Championship game. I think everybody would take that right now. Who's your third team, though? Is it the Rams? Is it the Seahawks? Who would it be?
Having watched the Seahawks get beat by the Giants Sunday and the way they play, I don't know what's going on. I mean, their defense has never been like this. The Rams their defense is, as Blake was saying, a dominant defense, and they're so maddeningly inconsistent on offense at times. Goff looks great, And then you wonder, has he kind of regressed, almost in the same game. If I had to pick between those two, I would go with the Rams just because their defense can make a play. They make several plays and be very difficult out in the playoffs. And they're used to playing in front of an empty stadium, so this should be perfect for them.
That's true. All right, so we'll see what the Rams and the Seahawks do down the stretch, but Saints and this is good. I'd love to see Saints Packers in the and of course this. The Saints need that game in New Orleans because you don't want to be playing in Lambeau in late January, right?
No. I can't remember what the exact record was, but when the temperature was at a certain, below 30 degrees, their record in those games, was just astonishing. I'm talking about going back to Bart Starr days. You just you just don't go up there and function that way because it's not used to it. I mean, nobody likes playing in the cold weather, but if you take a dome team and send them up there, especially when there's not going to be a crowd. I guess that may be an advantage, but at least the crowd kind of gets you going. I think it would be miserable, and they need that game in New Orleans big time. Big time.
NFL Chuck on the Out of Bounds show. All right, let's go to your AFC. You grew up, you're an AFC guy. Your Cleveland Browns are 9-3. Baker Mayfield had a really good game over the weekend. He's still woefully inconsistent. What do you see right now from your 9-3 Browns?
Well, what I see, and of course, Gavin and I watch all these games, and we were not expecting a win at Tennessee. We just wanted to compete. And what I'm seeing is a team, number one, that played to their strength in bad weather games. They stuck with the run. They did bootleg passes for Baker when they needed to, but they didn't rely upon his arm when they could run the ball effectively. Against the Titans were geared to stop the run. And Kevin Stefanski, their new coach, really came up with something that I didn't think he was going to do. He put the game in Baker's hands and, did it effectively, did it, a lot of play action. I think Baker's gotten really good at the play action passing game. I think he's either second or third in the NFL at quarterback rating when throwing from play action. So he is, he's got some inconsistencies not last Saturday or Sunday, but the last two games he's missed some wide open receivers in the end zone. I think that because of who he is, those misses get amplified because every NFL quarterback misses open throws. But I'm just seeing a guy that didn't have a off season with his coach, didn't have a true training camp or mini camp. And I think they're kind of getting to know what they can do together.
That makes sense.
Credit Stefanski for, relying on the run game and not pressuring Baker to win the game and then letting him grow into the scheme that he wants to run.
Sure. Well, it's a good story. And they, like you've talked about the last couple of years, they've got some good pieces. And 9-3 is a great spot to be in here in almost mid-December. All right, so I got to go back to the NFC for 1 second.
Yeah.
A listener just blew us up. NFL Chuck on the Out of Bounds show. Did you ever see Carson Wentz playing like this for this long, Chuck?
Yeah, I've got a problem. Of course, I think that he is, Gavin and I were talking about this as well. He's such a good guy. I mean, he truly is a good guy. Mm-hmm. And I think, he's the anti-Aaron Rodgers. Not saying Aaron's a bad guy, but Aaron just doesn't care what the media says, doesn't care what the fans say. I think Carson Wentz is the opposite. He takes everything personal. And I'm not saying that's bad, but I just think he feels real bad. He presses a lot, and you can see it. And I just think that if you look at the Eagles and what they don't have, it's just Aaron. He's not like Aaron Rodgers that can elevate his receivers. He needs his weapons, and they are lacking at those key pieces this year. Their offensive line's been banged up, and I really think that he's going to bounce back. Maybe not this year because of just how bad it is, but I think he's got the skill set. Because, I mean, if you look at his last 3 years and then look at this year, it's an anomaly. And when, NFL teams get the book on you and they figure out what you can and can't do, either by yourself or with the weapons around you, they're going to scheme you. I mean, if the Browns could stop you on their defense, which they did against the Eagles, real good defenses are going to stop you.
Mm-hmm.
So you will see what Jalen Hurts can do, and I like Jalen Hurts, and I think he's going to – I don't want to put pressure on him, but I think he's going to have the same struggles.
Okay. Back to the so that'll be interesting to see what happens with Carson Wentz, and like you said, if he starts to bounce back next September. AFC. All right, so we got the Browns. Your Browns are looking good. They're 9-3. They've got him a head coach, and we'll see what happens the next couple of weeks. When you look around the AFC outside of the Chiefs, where – because Pittsburgh to me doesn't look like that team, even though even with their start. Where do you go outside the Chiefs?
It's and here's personally where I would look until the Titans look like they did Sunday. They have no pass rush. They have no pass defense. I'm really digging on the Bills.
Yeah. The
Bills-Steelers game this weekend it's going to show you a lot about who the Bills are. They've got a great defense. But Josh Allen, I didn't think that Josh Allen was going to be this good this fast. He looks like a athletic Phillip Rivers who has a good throwing motion. I've tried to think of the
like
best of
that. Yeah.
Well, he's very tall in the pocket, and all of a sudden he's got that great speed, and he's gone. And then he can throw the ball, 80 yards on a dime. And they run the ball well. They're just a smash-mouth, blue-collar, typical 80s AFC team. And I just like them. I like Chiefs Bills in the AFC Championship game.
Ooh.
But I'm not sleeping on the Steelers.
Okay.
I'm not. Now, they've had some injuries, and we've got to factor in, this whole coronavirus thing. From 1 week to the next, you don't know if your star quarterback is going to be playing.
Sure.
And how that affects teams. And that's why the Steelers are so well coached. They've got the culture like the Saints. They plug and play so many guys. So I think when, Tomlin gets on these guys like he's been doing lately and calls them out publicly, it's almost kind of like, stirring up a hornet's nest. And I wish he wouldn't do that because I just think them getting in the playoffs on a run is going to be dangerous. But I still like Bills and Chiefs in the championship game.
Yeah, Tom, we're visiting with NFL Chuck on the Out of Bounds show, talking all the fun storylines and QBs. And as we march to the playoffs, it's cool that we got a team 2.5 hours down the road that is either the best team or one of the best teams in the NFL and the Saints. It's interesting you talk about Mike Tomlin. That guy does not hold back, Chuck, whatsoever.
No, and I think it comes from a mutual respect from his players. And they know that he's only doing that to get them going. You see some coaches that have done that over the years, like Greg Williams, for instance, and it almost sounds personal, like a personal attack against the players. But I think the players appreciate Tomlin, and they love playing for him. He's never had a losing season as an NFL head coach. And that's just astounding.
Yeah.
It blows my mind. But he doesn't hold back, and I honestly, I just think that he has such a relationship. Look on the side. If you ever watch him on the sidelines with his players, he's not that much older. Because he started when he was 33.
Right.
Another mind-blowing thing. And I think he just has a great relationship with his players, and they just love playing for him. And so when they hear that, it's almost like, they've let him down. And I think it just pushes them even further to do better. And that, like I said, the job he did last year when he had Duck Hodges and, and still finished with a chance to be in the playoff, that was just incredible.
Yeah.
Most teams would have folded right after Roethlisberger got hurt. But that's just, credit to him, credit to their organization.
Kevin Clark, underrated, GM for the
Oh, absolutely.
Golly. Wow. All right. NFL Chuck Mullins on the Out of Bounds show in the Sierra Nevada Pale Ale guest line talking NFL. What about A.J. Brown, man? Holy smokes. How good is this dude?
It really, when you look at those two guys, he and DK, and how they were I'm going to say overlooked in the draft. I know A.J. went second round, and so did DK, but, I mean, you look at how they translate in the NFL. And, having watched A.J. twice, once in person last year when he obliterated the Browns, and then last Sunday, you're just waiting for him to get off. And just so daggone, I mean, he looks like an NFL linebacker. And yet he's got, world-class speed. He's got hands. He's tough.
Smart player,
smart,
too.
Just everything you want in a player in the NFL. It reminds me a lot of Hines Ward with his toughness.
Yes.
Nice. And he's just going to be there for 10 to 15 years doing just this. And it's amazing that NFL front offices missed and didn't have this guy picked earlier. I guess it just goes to show you have to look at the tape and not the three-cone drills.
Man. And I hear he's magnetic. He's kind of got that Dak stuff about him.
Yeah.
And you know what that means in an NFL locker room, Chuck. I mean, to have guys, those get it guys. It's just
absolutely and it's like McLaurin, the wide receiver at Washington, Ohio State guy, second-year player, but is so well respected. He's already been named the captain. Mm-hmm. And, because guys appreciate not the fake rah-rah, but the guys who actually get it and bring it on the field. And I think that's what you get from A.J. Brown. And like I said, just fun to watch as long as he's not playing your team.
Well, we'll leave it there with NFL Chuck. So I'll take what he kind of threw out. I'll take the Chiefs and the Bills. I had a blast watching the Bills the other night. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
And I'll take the Saints and the Packers, and we'll all be happy on NFC and AFC Championship Game and whoever wins and heads on to the Super Bowl. All right, buddy, we'll have to do it again soon. We appreciate you. Hope everything's going well.
Thank y'all for having me on. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, see you, dude.
All right, bye.
Chuck Mullins, attorney extraordinaire, NFL Chuck to us on the Out of Bounds show. Blake, thank you for the heads up. Let's see. Ray Perkins, 79 years old, passed away today from Petal, Mississippi. And tied in with Jones Junior College, but also played for Paul Bear Bryant and the University of Alabama. Had a chance to interview him and be around Coach Perkins. Super guy, heck of a career. And R.I.P., rest in peace, to Ray Perkins, who passed away this morning. Thanks for listening to the Out of Bounds show on 105.9 The Zone. The podcast is on Apple Podcast. Search the Out of Bounds show. Please hit our Facebook page. Search the Out of Bounds show. We will see you tomorrow. Welcome home, Beef. Will join us at 9:30 with all kinds of good